Okay. So okay. Python. That's what happens when you have to do other stuff. I guess I could do Node, right? But I'm not the biggest Node guy, I suppose. So we do it this way. I have created a few of the functions. One of the functions I need to make is I need to make a function which format the text better here. Yeah, your face. Yeah, I'm not the biggest. I guess I'm not the biggest Python fan myself, but for some reason I always do it if I need to format something or just do some simple program, right? I don't know why I do it, but I guess it's to be fancy, right? Or something. I no clue. I guess it's because it's just easy, maybe. It's so simple. But then again, I always get in troubles when I have to do certain stuff anyways. Okay, so I have a few functions here. I have a word count and I have a character, or a word count and I have a character count. And right now, let me see, I count the words by splitting on space. And by splitting on space, I don't format the text, which give me results I do not like this, right? I get results where there is the split line on multiple occasions, right? Which kind of messes with the data because this probably contains who, but because of the splitting or the line separator, it obscures the data somewhat. So I need to figure out a way to fix this, and I'm not sure how to go about it. Before doing the pass the string through a replace function, which takes a regular expression and changes it. Yes, I guess I could do that, but I'm not sure how you do it actually. And also, I think I would like to count the line separation. Maybe I should actually look at in JS, yeah, but it's not JS, right? But I think I know what you mean. I think the first thing I want to do is, because what I'm thinking right now is that reading of the file probably reads every line, right? So let me actually print this line. So I might be able and this doesn't do anything now. Yes. So it does this, right? It reads every line, and I guess this actually helps because what I could do is that I might also want to have self.line count. Maybe that's useful as well. And what we can do is probably, because every line here will end on /n, right? So I guess I could count it here, and we have the O, which is the object, right? So I could say O dot line count and plus it with plus equal 1. And then I need to format the line. So I guess a simple substring, I might actually just go with the substring here, because every line will end with a separation, right? I used that replace technique when I had a file stream from Python which I had to send as a buffer to my node server. It's pretty sleek. Okay, so how do I check? I guess I can do something like print, let me do Python substring or something. And let's try to print the last 2 characters of every string. So see, maybe we can do something like this. It seems like this actually does it. So a string -2, so L, this should print. Okay, so it does not print what I'm looking for, kinda. It seems that it prints, so let's print both here actually. And I should probably also cut it down. It's not good that it runs so long. It doesn't print format characters. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, it doesn't print. Yeah, okay, I see. So, but if I split the line, if I split the string, I get the format characters, right? So the question is, how do I operate on the format characters then? Because if I pass them here and I split the string, I get the format, right? If I do split the string, and this is an array, so if I take the last 2 pieces, I'm not sure how you take the last 2 pieces of an array, if you can do this. Might be possible, right? No. There's a function called ord, which gives ASCII, so keep a dictionary of those format characters and replace it. Okay, so this, or what? Is it like a default thing in Python always? So can I do this? Ord expected a character, but string of length 2 found. Okay, so C in S. Okay, so this checks every. Okay, so this is every character, only 1 character. Okay, is this really the easiest way? This seems so much work, to be honest. Then I have to check if it contains the ASCII value of a broken line or a line separation, right? Which seems kinda. So in this case I would have to do F or for C in L, right? And say like this. Yeah, but it just seems so much work. So what is it called? ASCII value of /n. It just seems a lot of work to me, if you ask me. Because the problem right now is, I guess, is that because normally you would have, or it would be possible to do, like if we do splitting, I guess if we do splitting, actually I think I could also do this. If I split the array on every character, so this gives us an array, and I guess I could say a dot length how do I get values? I think there's a better way almost. Something like this. Python get last two values of array maybe. I think I can get the last two values and maybe separate. So start, stop. Okay, so maybe I can do something like this. If I say start, so maybe it would have to start at length -2 and goes to, or I guess it's, I think it's like this in Python, right? Maybe sometimes I think that it's even stupid for me to code Python because of these. Okay, so this gives the value, right? How do I download Python? You install it. I don't think you get a GUI for Python. You just need a code editor. Some kind of code editor. That's basically it. Start end. So why is this not working? Empty separator. Do I need to separate on? Let me see. Word count, word occurrence. Where's the letter count? Letter count. There's a character count. I guess that's it. Okay, so that converts the string to a list and we get the length of it. Maybe it's just L, right? Maybe that's the problem. Okay, you know what? I'll just do this. That's fine. So let's find the ASCII value for line separation. So line separation holds the value of what? So unit separator, is that it? I'm not sure right now, so let's do something. What can I do? Must be string, not int. Str. Okay. So there's something here, 32, I guess that's the spaces, right? 10? Okay, so 10 seems to be the separator, right? Or no? Let's check. 10 line feed, I guess that's it, right? That's the line separation. Okay. Yes, line break, line feed. Okay, so we know that, so if ord, I don't know how you say that, c equals 10, then it's a separation, right? And if it's a separation, I guess we plus the line count plus equal the line count. And what more? I guess we also need to format the string, right? Or the line, I guess. So the question is, we need to make a substring here. I think at least. So substring, and we did it this way. And what we need is to exclude the last two. So I guess we can say this maybe, and so here, this, I think this was what gives me the problem, because this ord might not, these two, they might not be compatible almost. So let's see. Okay, so this doesn't print, or does it? Print L -2. Okay, so let's see. Oh, so this print the entire line. Yes, so here might be a problem. So let's see what if I exclude this and just print the line, right? Yes, you see here, the format, the non-format contains a dot, but this one doesn't contain. So if I do this, I guess here what I need to do is that I need to convert the line to a list maybe, and if I convert it to a list, I'll get the line separators, maybe. So maybe I have to remove the last two elements of the list. Let's see. Yes, so this converting the string to a list, and maybe that's the problem I did here, because I count the characters, and the way I count the characters is by converting it to a list. But I guess I could actually also count it up here, right? Because I already loops over every character. So maybe this. Okay. Yes, so I think that's the problem. This count character, if I move this down here, let's try this. And I should probably pass the object then. And the character count then takes an object. And we don't we don't bind anything, we just call the function actually. And we look for each character in the line and check if it's a new line, and then we increment the line count. So this is fine. Then we don't need this, but what we need, what we need, I guess. Also we don't. So I guess I could do an if else here, because I don't want to count the line separation as a character. So maybe I can do something like o.word count, or count characters. Is that it? Letter count. I guess I could also call it character. This is where it's maybe somewhat difficult. Because what do I really want to count from these text files? But I think this might do it right. So we have a count, we send a string, which is the L, and we loop over each character in the string. And if it's a new line, we add to the line count. So it will actually be finished here, right, no matter what. I guess I could rewrite this and then say if it's not 10, then do this, else return or something. Almost. It doesn't matter really, I think. But let's see. So we count the characters. And word count, how does that work? Word count works on splitting the string. We split the string. Let me see. We also have some word occurrence function, and I guess this is where we count the occurrence of the word, but I think the occurrence of the word is counted based on. So I create a dictionary and I store the words in the dictionary, but the words might contain a line separation in them, or a dot. So I guess I would have to format. Here is where I would need some kind of regular expression, right? I would need a regular expression to check or to remove all the non-characters of the string, I think. So let's, I guess we can try to print this out and see what kind of data we actually have here. So we get some numbers, and maybe I should write here what they are numbers for. Yes, and this cannot be a string. Okay. So the word count, the letter count. Okay, so these are definitely not correct. Letter count. So the letter count runs here. And yes, I did it this way, so it's actually counting the lines now. So like this, right? Okay, so letter count is 5,000, and we have a word count, and we have a dictionary of the words in of the words within the text. But right now, these words, they might contain letters, right? They might contain characters which are not letters from the alphabet, and I think that's something I need to format. So I need to remove all non-characters or all non-alphabetical characters from the string. So let's see, maybe we can do it very easy. So regular expression, use re.sub. So what is re.sub? We compile something here. First parameter is the replacement. Second parameter is your input string. Okay, so this seems to do it right. Maybe. So let's try. We go here and we have from A to C, and we have an input string. So let me see. The input string right now is the word. Yes. So this gives us the word. So I probably need to rewrite these functions somehow. But let's just try to split the word. Split the word, and this gives us a list. So let me word list maybe. And I guess for each word in word list, we would have to do this. On the word, and it would give us an output which only contains, so I guess maybe I can make this, we just do this S and we say print S or something, and let's not return anything for now, but let's just see. And I guess I have to exclude all these, the word count and also the word occurrence. See, so word count equals words count. It's running this one. Okay, so this one is because it's expecting, it's expecting a return value. So I guess I can just do this for now. And let's see. Okay, so we have a lot of words here, which is good, and it seems like they are formatted the right way. It also seems like there's some empty strings here, so I guess we can try to do something like if, or I guess I just ignore these, right? Somehow. So if, or we can try to print the length of the line actually. Let me try doing this. Okay, so some of them contains a length of 0, meaning that we have to ignore. So I guess we can say if length is 0 equals 0, then we continue in the loop. But if this is not so, then we have to append. This S. So here, this is actually the word occurrence is what I have to rewrite now. So see how does this go? But what I have to do is basically bind this string to a dictionary, right? So this string have to be bind to the word occurrence dictionary, I guess. So word occurrence have values, and this is fine actually. So it's actually here that it happens. Word occurrence. So I guess what we need to do is, so I need to say O, so I have to pass O as well to this function, or the object I'm working on. So let me Fix that. And then it's changing. I don't need a return value. I'll just run the function. So we run the function and word occurrence count. If, let's see, and this is on S, so if S in the list, then we say word occurrence. But then again, this is only the count, right? Meaning that I've not fixed the dictionary, which is probably this one. So this is the dictionary, but where do I bind the key value pair? That's something I don't understand. I guess this is, oh yeah, this is just how you do it, right? I think this is just how you do it. So if that's there, then else. You say word occurrence, dot occurrence equals 1, else we plus equals 1. So this should do it. And if the string have no value, then we continue, because then we don't need to add anything, because it's not a word, right? Because it's 0. I guess what we could do is actually say less than equals 0, just to make it secure, right? It's probably the best way to do it if you have to worry about something like that. So let's see. Now we get something here. And it seems like we got rid of all the line separations and so on in the dictionary. It still seems like there is something checking on, what would you say? It's still checking on capital characters. So I guess this is again a design decision, because do I want to check if do I care about knowing if the letter is capital or not capital? I guess the question is, because here, you know, we have the def two times, and a very easy way to fix this, right, would be on the string we do to lowercase or something. So Python to lowercase. But then again, it's based on what we want, right? So let's see. Yes. So now we suddenly have 99 here, which is kind of odd, or maybe it's not odd, but I guess this is the word frequency, right? How many times a single word occur within the text. And I see the word count is currently not being updated, so let me see. And the question is, why is that so? So the count, word count we have here, we have this, okay, so we have that as a single entity, meaning that I can probably get rid of these now and count words. So in here I would have to, so if it's less than 0, we don't count anything, so we just say if it gets here, we say dot word count plus equal 1, and then we should get the numbers. Okay, so word count 1053, and we have a letter count, or a character count, or I guess it's actually, yes. So maybe I should look more into this character count, because right now I think it counts all the characters, including dots, commas, and so on. So I guess the question is, what kind of data we want from this kind of character counting, and what kind of characters we want to count. And I guess we could do the same, right, as this one. Maybe that's what I need to do. I do this regular expression compile. Right, I can probably move this into one function. Maybe I should call this from up here, because I already have the formatted string, right? Yes, I do already have the formatted string, meaning that I should probably be able to do something like this, .o, which would then run this program. No, I don't think I can do this. This is maybe where it gets a bit, because if I would like to count, I guess I can always just count the line separation. Yes, I can always just count the line separation by itself, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But counting of the characters, I guess this could be done a more optimal way, because I could do it up here, and up here what happens is that we have a word which is already formatted, so I guess we can pass this word. In this case the word is called S, right? I guess we'll call it something like formatted word, but let's try to pass the word to this function. And what we would have to do then is that I guess this still works, but in this case what we would have to count is only the letter count, or a character count. Maybe I should call it character. Yes, so what I could do here is that I could have a letter count, and I could also have a character, if I can spell to character. So I could count both things, both the character count and the letter count. So we could know how many characters was in the text, and we could know how many letters, based on the alphabetical letters, is in the text. Maybe it's useful data or something. I'm not sure, but let's see. So for each a C in L, which in this case this is, I guess we can rename it to V. So this should count the letter, right? And let's remove the function from up here, and then we need to make a separate function. We need to make a separate function which counts the line. So, or no, because this is already counting the line, so I should. This might not be 100% correct, but I should be able to just say up here o.line_count plus equals 1, because this is looping over the file for each line on the file, right? So it should be a new line every time. It might the problem with doing this, it might count lines which have no so by doing this right now, I think it counts lines which are only line separations. So we might have a line separations 2 times in a row, like yes, and that will happen, I'm pretty sure. So I might use, and now I deleted the code, but I might have to it all depends on how or which way I would like to know the line count, what kind of line count, because I guess the useful information in this case could be to know how many words each line contains, and if I count the lines this way, it will not give me the exact number for the count of words within or the average count, the average word count for every line. This would give me a number other than the average, because it would count lines which have no characters or no words within them. But let's see. So we get a letter count, we get a word count, and those should be fine. And this line count is probably wrong, so let's not worry so much about that right now. And the letter count we also had. So I guess what we can do is that we can do a character count as well, because then we can have the difference from character to letters, so we can see how many non-alphabetical characters the text contains compared to alphabetical characters. But how do we count that? So, and what do we define as our counting for this thing? So, if we have a character count, and we would like to count characters, then we have to ask the question, well, what do we define as a character? Because we might define a line separation as a character. We might even define a line separator as two separate characters, because it contains the characters of /n, right? So this might count as two characters. And I guess at this point it goes down to what kind of decision we make. Because if we do a separate counting of the line separators, this is where it might get complex, because it all gets down to how we choose to do such and such a thing, right? And I think that's a difficult task. Because how do we define a character in this context, right? What do I perceive as a character, and what would I like to count as a character based on what I find useful for my data collection or my kind of analysis of this kind of text. And I'm not sure, because there seems so many ways to do it, and the best way might be that I count a lot of things differently, but by counting them differently, I can always get back to the start position, or I can always get back to I can always find and maybe that was too loud. I can always find the value that was before, so I can always find back to the original. Maybe that's what I need to keep in mind somehow. Yeah, that's very difficult. What do I see as a valid character? Like letters, I guess we can define somewhat easy, because we can say that our definition of a letter is based on the English alphabetical system. But when it comes to a character, and in this case, it seems that we have a lot of ways that we can choose to define a character in this case. So line word occurrence and line count. What do we mean when we say line count is also a question, I suppose. So I guess we can look at the texts. So we have the texts here, and the text looks like this, and there's a few things that arises when the format looks like this, because counting of a new line and counting of characters as well. And I need to get some water, so be right back. Alright, so we have these things, or we have this text, right? And this text, at the current time, we got locked up, or we got the characters counted, or we got the alphabetical characters counted, we got the words counted, and then maybe it could be interesting to have a character count as well, because the letter count does not include characters, and I guess maybe separate counts is the best thing to do. So we could go and we could count the characters. So maybe I can do something with this regular expression where I exclude all the alphabetical characters and only include the characters which are non-alphabetical, right? So Python exclude and yes, my spelling is not very good, but Google always fixes it. Okay, so this one excluded all the alphabetical, so I think maybe we have something here. Alternatively, if you only want to remove a certain set of characters, as an apostrophe might be okay in your input. Okay, so this excludes certain characters. Okay, and this also exclude numbers. I'm not sure how important numbers are for our case. Maybe I should include them. Okay, so I guess I need to figure out how I exclude. Instead of this pattern removing, right now this pattern removes everything that does not contain from A to C, right? So I guess the question is, how do I do the opposite of this? How do I exclude from A to C from a string? How do I exclude specific characters? Excluding specific characters seems like this is exactly what we need. In some cases we might know that there are specific characters that we do not want to match to. For example, we might only want to match phone numbers that are not from the area code 350. To represent this, we use a similar expression that excludes specific characters using the square brackets and the hat. For example, the pattern design ABC will match any single character except for the letters ABC. Okay, so except the letters ABC. But I thought this was what we did here. So maybe we have to do the opposite. What happens if I remove this? This seems to be it almost, actually. It at least gives us something differently, or something different, right? So it seems this is what we need to work with. We have the character count, and I think this was fine because we counted it here. So we have to do the opposite. So diff and let me actually rename this to letter count, and then we make a count characters here. Where we use the regular expression, compile this on a character. So let me see, on the word. So what happens if we call this up here with L and O? Let's try to print out S and Okay, so it seems to print some characters here. Interesting. And this is almost cool, I think. It's like art, right? But it probably runs this too much, maybe. So, okay, S contains this, and it seems like white spaces. So I guess this is where I need to do that ORed, and then we print the number instead. Expected a character, but a string of length 13 was found. But if we split this into separator. Okay. So what is all these empty? I guess that's the question. I guess this is the spaces, right? Maybe. I think that's so. This is actually, I find this cool to look at, actually. I think it's interesting. So, the question is what we count here. I guess we could do for L in this, and then we could say or we could use that ORed L, and then we can get the number maybe. So ORed expected a character, but a string of length 5 was found. That's interesting. I guess it's because this is an array, so we probably need to split this again. So we have to separate by character. How do we split every character? In a string. I guess we don't need to split it. Maybe it already contains it. Okay, yes. Interesting. N must be string. or what? Yes. So this is a number. We do this. Okay. So what is this for? This is the ASCII. But it prints a lot of data, which makes no sense. So in this case, I guess we would actually need, we have a dictionary here, so maybe we need a character dictionary. Oh wait, I know, maybe I should also make a letter dictionary. I think I want to do that actually. So we could have a word, we could have a letter, and we could have a character. Occurrence in a dictionary, so we could compare. Maybe we could look at some, I don't know if you call it like frequency, how frequent certain letters appear. So we could, I guess we could do, we could maybe look at percentage of how much of the text is the letter E compared to the text as a whole. So we could see how often a character appear, maybe percentage wise within the text, and that maybe that could be interesting as well. So let's see. I guess we can do this character counting first. So this is a dictionary now, meaning that we probably have to do this again. So okay, so in this case, so let's so if n is in letter occurrence or character occurrence, count, I guess maybe I should not call it count, but so if n is within this, then we do this, and what we can then do is that let's try to print this out. So we print this, and we can also try to print the character occurrence. So let's see. And it did not work because it's the indentation. I should probably remove this, and I might also want to remove this. So we have something here. This is not the word, so character. We could also call it non-alphabetical characters, because maybe there's a more, or maybe that describes it better. So character occurrence count gives us this data. We get all the lines, which I see as a good thing. We also get commas, we get other things within the text which maybe should not be here even. So this is number 8. Let me actually look at text 8 here. It seems it contains some character somewhere, and my guess is probably this one. This might obscure the data somewhat. I think that's some of this, or no, it's here. Then I don't know. But this is. I guess it doesn't matter with all of this. It's just that sometimes, like these, I'm not sure where they come from, and it might be because of my way of doing this data is somewhat corrupted, or not corrupted, but it's maybe not done in a proper way. Yes. So now we have the characters. Let's count the letters as well. And I guess we could count the letters very easy up here. So let me see, count letters. We already have this function actually. Yes, and I don't think this is running the right place. It probably have to run down here, right? Because if the length is less than 0 or less than equal to 0, then we don't want to do anything. So I guess this have to be here, right? Because this takes a word and it counts the letters. And then we want to count it in the dictionary as well. So I guess it's just this one again. Maybe I should have made a function for doing this. Could also be done. Cheers, man, and thank you. So letter occurrence count. This should give us I don't know who that guy is, but okay, so let me see. Why is this not working? I guess it's because of this, maybe. Okay, so name n is not defined. And this is because it's C. Okay, so we get this data now as well. And this should be the alphabetical count for each character within the text. And I guess we have the data now, or some of the data, which we can do some kind of analysis on. But the question is just what I actually choose to do with this data. We could do something like seeing the percentage of how often a letter, like an alphabetical letter, occur or within the text, right? And we could also do how often a letter occur compared to words, maybe. I guess we could look at it from a lot of angles. The question is just, I guess some kind of percentage might be good. Because in the end, what I would want with this data is to put it in some kind of a graph, right? Not a troll, but I think you haven't seen sunlight in ages. Was that to me? I'm not sure if that's something you say to me. But if it is, then I don't think you're right. But sometimes I might not see so much sunlight. But I don't think it's correct. I would also like to know what kind of a basis you make such a claim, or you believe such a thing. Maybe that's interesting. anyways, so word count, letter count, character count. What do I think it's movies which spoiled my analogy. All right. Son is wicked, monster that wants to murder us all slowly via skin cancer. Oh. Maybe. Maybe that's why I look like I look or something. Who knows? Anyways, let's see if we can see if we can count these things. So okay. So I guess we have the sum of all the alphabetical characters, and I guess we could calculate the percentage of how frequently they occur within the text. And how would I do that? I would make a function first, I guess. So get I think we are all trolls around this part of town, maybe. Oh. How does that work here? Is it like a better... is it a better... Or I guess you... Oh yeah, I know. I guess they always work right everywhere. Forget what I thought. It's me not knowing how... Yeah. How Twitch, yeah, I know it's your sub emoji. I just didn't get how you could use it in here. It was maybe confusing because for a short second I thought that sub emojis are bound to streams only and not other streams. Yeah, I'm in troubles now. I need to run away because I'm not subbed. But you know, poor programmers. Okay. So get percentage. This. Okay. So this. How do we calculate percentage? I forgot. But I guess this function would. We would call up here maybe. And I should really be better at the naming, but we pass an object, and this object contains the character list. So we can loop over this for x in the dictionary. I think you can loop over dictionaries in Python. I'm not sure how you do, but let's see. Okay, so for the key value, I guess this is what we need. Okay, so maybe this. So I guess this would loop over, and then we would have to compare. So the value here would be equal to a number, the amount of occurrences. So how do you calculate percentage? I can never remember these things. Thank you, McFly or MC Fly. Okay, so I need to find this formula if I can. So increase original number times 1000. Okay, so the original number, I suppose, or the total, right? I guess the total is the character count. So the total, maybe this makes it easier. So we have the total, so O dot character count is the total, and we have how big or how many times the specific character occur within the total. So how is it you calculate percent again? So new number, original number gives us the increase. So maybe I have to minus here. I'm never sure. And then we take increase divided by original number times 1000. We then have to do divided by O dot character count times 100. It's not divided. Let's see. What does this give? It's a non-type and int. Unsupported operand type. How do you divide? Oh, I guess this is why. Division by 0. How can a character have 0? And it's also a letter, it's not character. I should probably do. Okay. And this does definitely not seem right. Maybe it's this one. Original number minus new number. Decrease divided by original number times 1000. Yeah, let's do this. So this number divided by yes, I think this is what I need, right? Maybe I need some minus 100 to this number, so 100 minus. Yeah, this seems more right. So let's see what happens if we take the sum here. So and we print okay, so it gives us 99.99%. So it seems this is right. Maybe not 100%, but I guess it's something with floating points. And we also need to print this. So I think this gives us the frequency of the letters within the text. I guess I'm fine with this. I'm not sure how you can ever get it 100% if there happens some kind of what would you say, like floating point rounding. Okay. And then I guess, so the question here is what we do now. How do we bind this to the object? Because I probably want to bind this somehow to the object. Maybe I need to make another object which holds all the formatted data or something like that. But I guess we can count, or we can calculate the percent of each word as well. So so let's do that. And it's probably the same as this one, right? Maybe I should make like a general function. Maybe it's not good to have two separate here. I'm not sure, but I guess I'm lazy, right? So we have word count, and we print this. So let's see what happens if we do this. Yo. Oh, this, okay. So here it's actually above 100%. Scary. But I guess this is the percentage of how often the words occur within the text. Or maybe I did this wrong. Or I don't think it's wrong. I guess if it's 100% it should be right. So S is 2%. Because in this case, I guess having an object, I could have an object on this word occurrence, right? So inside this dictionary we would have an object which holds the number of how many times, and it also holds the number of how the percentage is of that number. Maybe. What should I call it? So we have data object, and I guess the dictionary, it would be better to have an object within it. Yeah. It could also do an array. It doesn't really matter so much. So this object, I guess, I'm not sure if I need the constructor here, but so we have count, right? And we have percentage. I'm not sure if I need this in it for Python right now. But let's try. So this, we have two, let me see. So word count, we do not have the total word count here, which means I can probably not calculate the percentage before I've calculated the word count or the total word count. Maybe I should just rebind. Maybe that's the best way. So we have this, and when we calculate the percentage, we can rebind, but it just doesn't seem the best solution. But maybe it is. So calculate percentage, we get the key and the value, and we can look up the list based on the key, and we can rebind the object, or we can rebind, or we can set what is called an object instead of just having one value to the list. So this should probably take parameters actually. So let's actually give this a count, and let's also give it a percentage. Let's just set it from the start. So the percentage is this, and the count is the value. It's a bit of like redundant work almost, this, but see what we get. So this prints all this. Let's actually stop this, and we stop this. And what we do then instead is that we print this list, and we're done. And this list should contain objects. Seems it contains objects. And I'm also still printing every word. So I guess the question is, how do I print this then? So this still prints an object. I guess we can transform this then to, because I guess what would be interesting to do now is that, let's say I transform it to a JavaScript object, and then we plot it on some graph, maybe. The percentage and the count. And I guess another interesting factor as well. So this gives us, what does this give us? It gives us how often a character occur, right? Or no? Yes, it gives us how often the character. So what can I use these numbers for? So the percentage character, how can I use this somehow in relation to the words, or how often or how many words that the text contains? I mean, what use would this be? To display? Or to do any kind of data formatting on? I guess that's the question. How do I do anything? Like, I can come up with a lot of numbers, right? And display a lot of numbers. Maybe that's just what I need to do at first. So I guess we can format this to a JavaScript object and then display it maybe on some kind of website. And then see where the data takes us, maybe. Because we already have some numbers, right? We have the percentage of character occurrence and the word as well. And we could have we could easily calculate the average word length as well. And I guess maybe a comparison, like maybe I want to have like an individual data sheet somehow, and I would want to have an overall data sheet which shows or display a graph where I compare the text to each other and not only the data within the text. Yes. Let's figure out how we write some of this to JavaScript, or I guess I just write it to JavaScript. Maybe I can do something like JSON parse or something. Python. Okay, so JSON dumps data, maybe that's what I need. Data key dumps. JSON is serialized. It's a serialization format. Textual data representing a structure. Is this just what I need? Maybe. So I guess what we could do is that we could try to write JSON files maybe, and we could write some JSON files. So data dot dumps data, and this would take an object of some kind. And we would also have to write to file. Let me see. I have the file path, which is good. So I guess we need to figure out Python. What is it called? Write to file. We have the file path. Let me see. So that's the total. Okay, so I-Ching number. I guess we take this. I-Ching number equals 8.txt. So this, I guess we can use. Let's do here. And this one takes the array, and we loop over the array. So for O in A, and for each we open a file. I'm not sure, do we need to close these? We probably do, right? Maybe I also need to close it up here. So file, open if, probably do this, right? Else maybe it will give me some memory leaks. So here we do on the O, and because we need to write to a specific location, right? So let's take, do I bind this path? So we have the file path, which is the entire path. It also seems like I pass the file to this object. Okay, yes, I think that's fine actually. So, oh no. I probably need to rebind this, so let me just do it this way then. Or I guess I can just pass the path. I guess it doesn't matter. I just need to write it somewhere, right? So let's just do path here and we do this. It's fine. And then we say path plus o dot file name plus dot JSON. Let's see what it does. Maybe this doesn't know how to write. So this is the path, this is the name, okay. Okay, so it creates this file, which is a JSON file, but it's kind of bugged. Data object is not JSON serializable. Alright. The question is, why is this so? I don't know what this pickle is. I really have to do something else. You really have to bind it on the object. Lobo FPS, thank you. So I don't know why I cannot print this. Data object has no attribute to JSON. But I thought this is how you do it. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's because I have to do this. Okay, so now we have something. Let's then try to what will the code be used for? There's a chance I will use the code just to display certain data. That's kinda it. It's kinda just like data formatting, like text data. And then I think what I'll do is that I'll make some graph like here and then put it on a website or on my website. Because sometimes it's easier to see certain patterns within data if you display it in a graph, something like that. It has no real use other than I find it fun to code. Maybe I'll probably maybe put the code on my website as well. I'm not sure. Most of the things on my website is JavaScript, so by being JavaScript, it's open, right? No, I would see my primary language as vanilla JavaScript, maybe. Just clean JavaScript. That's what I do the most in. And that's also why I do this, is to get data for JavaScript, right? Okay, so let's try. Now we have fixed this. Then let's try to print all of this data to a file. So f.write. Let's just try to write the whole string to this file and then see what it does. So we have these files now. So we have I-Ching number, we have character count, doesn't have a value, we have some data here, we have letter data, we have word occurrence, we have some percentage. Okay, so I still need to add the percentage, thank you. I still need to add the percentage for the letter occurrence count, I guess. And maybe I should rename this to something else. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, this is actually funny because in this case A is a word, but up here is not a word, right? So we have data, and I guess that's what it's all about, is getting data right now. So let's also write the percentage to the dictionary of the characters. So I guess we do it the same way. So letter occurrence count is the dictionary. So we do the same as up here. And bind it with an object. So this might actually, I might want to recreate this, and instead of having some kind of array here or a dictionary, I might want to have an object. Let's try to print this again. Oh, it disappeared? No, okay, it's here. So we have the percentage as well of characters, how often they occur within the text. And this kind of data we have 64 times, right? So I could make a web page which display the data for a specific text, and I could make the data, or I could make a web page which display the data for all of the text. So like the letter, I could have a graph which displays maybe the amount of letters each text contains, and maybe it has some pattern. I guess. But then again, then there is another problem. I probably need to have each of these would work for each of these would work for like they would work well if I do not have to display the data for all of the texts, right? All of 64 texts, because requesting all of these would be very bad, right? So I would have to what would you say? Have a file which contains some of the general data, because it might not be, if I want to show something based on an overall view and not an individual view of the text, maybe I don't need how frequent a character occur, for example, or maybe I do. I guess the question is what we do now. So we have some data. Should I just try to make some kind of displaying of this data somewhere? Maybe I want to display like this is where one of the difficult tasks, or I find this a difficult task, because I don't know how I would like to display most of these things. So we have some data, but how would I want to display this data? So it seems at least just good to look at, right?
You're tired. I mean it, you're pale as a ghost. You should try and get some sleep.
because it could maybe also be interesting to see, maybe there is one text where we have a high occurrence of a specific word, but in another text we do not have this high occurrence of that specific word. So I guess that's where it's difficult. And also I have to make it fit with the framework I have for my website, right? Because I made some of these things and they work in a specific way. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but it has to work with because I made my own router, right? So it has to work with my own router as well. I have to take that into consideration. And I also need to think about how much data the user requests to see specific data, or to see the specific data.
It's always the same thing over and over. All I do know is I want this to end.
Okay, so it seems like I requested from JSON here, and I don't think that was the solution I was trying to go with. I have a display for the text, right? And I could make something which also displayed the data in the same way as here, right? So we have 64 hexagrams, but each of these pages leads to the text itself, right? So instead, I guess what I could do here is I could make a page like this which contains the data for the text. I guess I can always just rework it, right? Maybe I should just do it and it doesn't matter so much. Or do something. So how do I do here? I have start row, current row, and I set card. Maybe this is the same I should do. In this part, maybe I should just use this function. Actually. But I'm not sure what this card holds. Yes, so it gives this path. That's not really what I need. But I guess I could make another function here, so which is almost the same. I guess it could also take a parameter here instead. So we make this, yeah, maybe that's what I should do. So here we take the path instead. Okay, so I-Ching card, and here it needs to go to data, text data. So let's see what's happened. And we need to add this. Probably need to upgrade this kind of framework someday into something that makes this a bit easier, because I think there is a pattern to this, right, which I can use for making it easier. Okay, so I-Ching text data. It links to I-Ching text data. I need to make some kind, so there's a correlation between this kind of array and then the map in here, because right now I kind of have to add it multiple places, which I don't think is a good practice. This is also something which should probably make better, right? I also think this needs to hold I, actually. Maybe that's a mistake. Okay, so it does not display the page, and why is that so? Okay, so the map object is undefined. Why is this so? Okay, that's not fine. Map object, run path. So let me actually try to jump this. Okay, so that was the problem. I had an extra slash. Apparently I cannot have that. So we get here, and then I need to do something with this, right? But I guess this should also not look similar, so I probably need to fix or make this different in some sense. And also I have this problem with there's not for the framework I use, I guess you can say, for displaying these things. So when there is multiple text here, that does make sense, but my framework for this website kinda is based on this idea that every file is a JavaScript file, and then I dynamically inject it to the page, and by me doing that, it might cause certain problems. One of them could be search indexing, right? And more than this, also each text here, if I need to create a JavaScript file, right now I don't have a JavaScript file for each text, because in this specific situation I do it another way. A request or the JavaScript file I request to display this page does not hold the value, so after the page is loaded it does a JSON request, I'm pretty sure. Yo, a little cold. And I'm not sure if I just want to create some program that creates 64 JavaScript files, right? Because, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if the format is similar, then I could have a program to do it for me, but I'm just not sure about this practice. And it might not be very optimal to do it this way. If we say this is an object, right, so this is a JavaScript file which contains this object, because normally for me right now, for me to be able to display a page, I have to have a JavaScript file for the page and do this code. And maybe this is the mistake I do. What are those I-Ching characters? It depends on which one we talk about, these or you mean the hexagrams or the hexagrams? These or what? I'm not sure what characters. They are hexagrams. I guess that's maybe the easiest way to say it. And what I'm doing right now is I'm figuring out, I did some data formatting on the text itself, which gives me all of this data, so there's quite some data here. And I have 64 of these, doing different counts on the text. And the plan then is to display this somehow on a web page. With the framework I'm using to display it. And that's sometimes the difficult task, because I don't have any, right now I don't have any server side, or I have server side in the sense that I need to serve files, right, but I don't have any server side for it right now. And I also suppose that these things, they are better off static almost, because for example, the text, they don't change, right? So it doesn't matter that it's static. Some of the things could maybe be created non-statically, but these things I'll probably just do them statically, right? If that's even what you call it. But I have to make it fit for my specific framework, and that means that I probably have to create maybe these from Python. Maybe I should create them from Python. So I could write to a JavaScript file. It's just it doesn't seem the most smartest solution, but the thing is also I'm not sure what other solutions I have to work with. If I need this for every file I serve. I'm also not sure if this importing is the most efficient way to do these things, because I'm not sure what happens if you import something and then import the same thing again without refreshing the page. Does it then work with some kind of memory of that imported thing, or does it have to reload the memory of the import? It's also something I have to figure out, because maybe it's better for me to inject some of these things than importing them, because I don't know how the reuse of an imported JavaScript file works within JavaScript. So if let's say I don't reload the page, but I re-import this, I guess I could check it. Actually, if I do this, it should display what kind of request, right, it does. So single work of red, let me see again then. Here. I guess it gets the import from memory, right? If the import is not cleared. It seems so, at least, maybe. But then again, it doesn't display the imports, does it, in here? So router, so what about these files? They imported. How does this work? It's actually something I need to know almost. So HTML component seems to be imported here, right? So there's some loading going on. Maybe I should take the example of this one actually. There's a router, HTML component. Okay, so it seems like they're only loaded one time. Okay, so that's good. I don't have to worry then. They are, I guess they are stored in memory somewhere. So it would not matter to do it in another way, I suppose. But then we still have that problem with displaying based on the router I have, because do I go here and then refresh, then I lose the page, and the reason why I lose the page is because it's looking for a JavaScript file in a specific folder. And right now the JavaScript file does not exist. I guess I could make some fallback or something. I'm not sure. Maybe I should take a break. I think I'll actually stop now, and then maybe I'll look at this another day or tomorrow or something. Anyways, have a good day.